Hutch, we have Blame Truth on the show every so often, and I think there's some genuine animosity on his side. What's on your side?
That's a good question. I gotta be honest. Like at this point in my life, I don't have a lot of genuine animosity for like anyone. I'm getting older. I'm chilling out. So I haven't had any kind of interaction with him in quite some time. There was like some effort to build a bridge. And so he has like a podcast where he discusses COD. I think it's called the CODcast. And I went on his podcast and everything was fine. And then there was like a little spat. It's usually about the SBMM stuff and
skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah, but I haven't had any kind of interaction with him in a while. I hope he's doing well. I'm not even being petty or anything like that. I don't have a lot of space for that anymore in my life. So yeah, I'm not above like being really petty sometimes. Like I have it in me to be super juvenile and immature, but honestly on this part, I don't give it a lot of thought. And yeah, there's not any active hostility.
Every time we talk to him, he's just like in the hutch.
And it's hilarious because I've never seen such a dispute over something that to me is as skill-based matchmaking. Like there's no big, like, it's not like you're arguing over religion or politics. It's like, I want lobbies of shitheads that I can just massacre. And it's like, no, you shouldn't have that. And it's like, that is the impetus of
I love the argument though. I don't want to rehash it. I don't want to rehash the argument, but I love the argument because I see both sides semi-equally. And obviously, like, as a player, you have an opinion, and then if you're asked as like, hey, this game over here in a vacuum, what do you think it should be like? Maybe you have a different opinion there. So it's a fun thing to hash back and forth. It's a good topic, but he takes it very, very personally. I've noticed he gets upset about it. We're always telling him you guys should do one of those YouTube boxing matches, but especially because of the stature difference.
Well, I put on a little bit of weight, a little bit. It all went to my gut, so I'd have to like do some kind of conditioning. But no, I don't want to.
I'm actually. I don't mean
6 months and be ready to kill.
To cause trouble, but I think I'm on Team Blame Truth with this one.
No, Hutch has got the reach advantage by far. He's going to be reaching in there.
About skill-based matchmaking, not the fight.
Oh,
I wasn't clear.
I would take Anthony over me in a fight. Let's just put that to rest right now. That dude is yoked. He got ripped, bro.
Yeah, he is ripped now.
He's gotten into fitness. Skill-based matchmaking, in my opinion, I can't play with my friends. My friends are too good, and they ruin it for me. And
mine are too.
Didn't used to be that way.
Yeah, we spoke about this last time. Like, I think like my point that I made back then, and I'll try to make the point again, like really concisely, is like that is like a really valid perspective. If you're not having a good time, that's your subjective experience. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But I'm just saying, like, if we're expecting video game studios to loosen matchmaking parameters such that it actually eats away at their player base and drops their player retention, that like. I assume we're all capitalists here. Like nobody, no business owner is going to make a decision that would intentionally drop the player count. And I think like a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to interject that a different game with a similar situation is Sea of Thieves. Are you familiar with the whole controversy there that's been going on for years?
I'm curious though. Tell us.
Who's the fucking? I love him on Twitch.
Summit, maybe.
Summit. Thank you. Summit was often at the center of this, but Sea of Thieves has this sort of, it's a pirate simulator at its heart, and it's beautiful to sail in Sea of Thieves with three of your boys. Trim the sails to the left, you fucking play your harpsichord, and I'll steer, and you get the fucking spyglass up the up the ladder and look for sharks. It's fun, and a lot of people play it that way, and they go through this little story mission, they go fight AI skeletons for these chests of gold, then they buy fancy sails for their boat, and that's all they want to do. The hardcore players are PvP masters. They know how to, like, the fastest way, the meta to switch between this gun to that gun to like kill somebody. Like, you normally fights take 15 seconds. Summit kills you in 2 seconds, and you're like, wait, what happened? Then your boy's dead. Then his boy's dead. Then the ship's sinking because Summit was asleep in the bottom. Literally camp his character out asleep in the bottom of your boat and hide till you do 3 hours of work. Then sink your shit, take all your loot, and sail away because it's a pirate game.
Yeah, some of those clips are really impressive too. I don't play the game, but I'm watching it, and it's like wild what some of those PvP players are doing with that game.
So I think they finally split the worlds, and they made it so that if you want to go off and do your thing, you can. And they're making it so if you want to be a sweat lord, you're just going to have to do like PvP basically and fight other people who just want to shoot back and forth. But that's not what piracy is, right? Piracy at its heart, if we're talking about that, let's go pick on the weakest people we can find with the most treasure. Let's find a fat Dutch trading vessel with incense in it.
True.
But
there was a
player base needs to be served.
So there was a matchmaking debate in that community as well. Is that what was going on?
A big deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I don't remember the last time I checked in. Summit had sworn off the game because of the developers changing.
I think you could sum it up like this: the herbivores didn't want to play with the predators, right? The cannibals.
Yeah.
And they decided to split the player bases. And I can see why they would, but Kyle's like, in real life, the cannibals don't eat the other cannibals, largely. They prey on the deer and the cows and the sheep.
Yeah. Seems like the other people should be playing Raft, like where you kind of Sim City your Raft.
They should, because Raft is fun.
Raft is really fun. Yeah. Although I will say this to you two. I don't know if you've ever played Sea of Thieves, but if you role play, if you put on your pirate voice, you pick out which, my guy's got a peg leg for sure. I'm not too agile, and like play it that way and go find it, buried treasure, following maps all around for 3 hours. That shit is really fun. Yeah, and I can't PvP that well anyway. Not well enough. Not like them. It's scary.
That was back when you were in your rum drinking phase too.
Oh yeah, you get some rum. All right, you got to make yourself some homemade grog when you get out there. It's a good time. It's an amazing pirate game.
Kyle couldn't smoke.
I think it's pretty telling that all of these studios, except for like Escape from Tarkov, but like all of these studios eventually get to a place where they add stricter matchmaking. And and some of them have been more like forward about it. Like, the Fall Guys team of developers, they just straight up said in their Discord, like, look, we get it that our hardcore OG players are finding the game is very sweaty right now and they're not having as good of a time. But what we're observing is that when a new player plays the game and gets stomped out 2 times in a row, they just uninstall the game. And we don't think that's acceptable as a studio. And so they essentially said, like, we don't really have like a choice, you know? So yeah, it's just, you can have your preferences, but if you start like screaming at Infinity Ward for adding skill-based matchmaking, I just don't think you're operating in reality, you know? Like, I don't think you're just acknowledging certain unavoidable truths, I suppose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I yelled at Hutch the other day.
Really? That's interesting to me.
Do you disagree on Call of Duty?
No, he's just a retard. I don't really like
you guys are longtime friends or kind of frenemies right now?
He's just an idiot. I don't know. He's just too stupid. I can't.
That was a concise one we all have from time to time. What is he stupid about?
Politically, he had a very unpopular opinion on SBMM, and then he claimed he was triggering the community.
That's skill-based matchmatching, right?
Thank you. Yeah. So
I was trying to think of what protected group that was.
No, I was on the sex axe. I'm like,
SBMM. Oh shit.
So what is? I haven't played a Call of Duty multiplayer in years.
You are so fucking lucky.
So people don't like that you get matched. That if you're really good, you play against really good people, and it's hard to get like pub stompy games, right?
It's not just that though. It's the better you are, the worse your connection will be, because it'll. Without getting too nerdy, it'll put you. It'll value matching you up on skill rather than connection. So a lot of the time,
that's terrible.
It's very terrible, and there's no arguing like that. That's not terrible. You know, I shouldn't be getting worse connections on a game in 2021 with better internet than a game like 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
I've said for 10 years, when you die and it's not your fault, that's the biggest thing a multiplayer game can do wrong.
It's so bad.
Bad connections enable that. The thing I didn't like about skill-based matchmaking is I have friends or people who watch the show who are really good, much better than me, and it makes them undesirable to play with.
Yeah. I was playing with some friends of mine who are not very good, and they liked me being in there at the start.
Right.
I would drop the harps or whatever, like I'd drop all the big kill streaks, but then they didn't like it too much after like an hour, because then you get tougher competition, and then I'm carrying everybody, and then it's never good. So
if you're streaming, people will join your stream. Like it or not, you're going to be playing with people who are watching you, according to me. Maybe you have a better idea. And so it's like, all right, instead of trying to fight that, I would just fill my team with people from the stream. It's a way to interact, give back. Who knows?
That's what I do.
And I've been like, you guys don't understand. I get good games when you're not looking. But, that's what happens. It matches me up with people like me. But then I get it. Then these guys come in and they're people like you. And I can't get good games anymore. And it's kind of embarrassing. And as a viewer, only a tiny percentage of them understand that, like, oh, this is just a lobby filled with studs.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm not even like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like a Call of Duty god. I'm like maybe an 8 on a good day. I'm not even that great. And if I'm having these issues, imagine what people that are, like fucking insane are dealing with.
What was Hutch like skill-based matchmaking, even though it's bad for connection?
He had a very liberal view on it, where he's like
liberal view. Yes.
How could you possibly make skill-based matchmaking political?
He's trying to take connections from good players and share them with the lesser players.
I'm trying to get really good gameplays, and this fucking loser isn't letting me do it.
No, there's a clip. I swear to God. Do you guys know Sandy Ravage?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Sandy went on Hutch's. I swear to God, this is fucking real. He went on Hutch's stream to debate skill-based matchmaking with Hutch, because Sandy Ravage is against it. Old school guy, kind of like us, doesn't really like it. And he's on Hutch's stream. Hutch is for it. And out of nowhere, it's on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. Out of nowhere, Hutch just says, you kind of sound like Trump right now. And Sandy's like, what? And he's just like, yeah, you sound like Trump, and I'm more of a Bernie Sanders type here. And I saw that, and I'm like, they were just talking. There's nothing that triggered that or whatever. And I'm like, this dude's obsessed with fucking politics.
That is so bizarre.
What a moron.
That's worse than me.
So yeah,
I'm the hero in this conversation, in the narrative I've constructed about, like, what could the point be? So he was like,
sounds like you're kind of a bad guy.
It should just be by connection. Why would it not be by connection? It's always works that way. And so what his point was, you just need to stop bitching and play, or what?
Sandy's point was that back in the day, people still bought Call of Duty without this insanely complicated like algorithm. You know what I mean? Like, people bought Call of Duty, they played it. It never really affected anything. And then Hutch was like, well, no, the new players need like a protected bracket. And I agree with that to an extent. If you're like dog shit, if you're like fucking horrendous, get into the hell and Keller. Good. I mean, I was just saying, you can get into the Helen Keller lobbies if you want, but everybody who's like good that I know wasn't really good at the start, and the way they got better was facing better competition. But at the same time,
a thing though. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
Take COD 4. If you were a level 10, you didn't find yourself with 10th prestiges very much. Like, it did impact the way the matchmaking worked.
The way it would do it is you would find just a variety of people, but the thing is that it would primarily just base it on connection. So you'd match based on the best connection to the lobby.
But you agree with me that it did seem to apply rank in there somehow.
Yeah, I don't think it was skill based. It was rank based to some extent, for sure. Because I
think it was
we'd all make new accounts, and it's like, oh look, these guys made new accounts too, because it's like 2.5 years into.
Back in the day, it was very, very light. So brand new players like that, they would get slightly easier lobbies.
But then also, like, when we would be like full team of 10th prestiges, like playing late domination at night, it's like kakong, get matched with 6 other 10th prestiges who are all also playing domination.
It was what random, I was saying. It existed. No, I don't think it was random. I don't think that if you were a full team of 10th prestiges, you were not likely to get a full team of like rank 1 through 10.
I played Black Ops 4 for about 2 years straight on stream, like, about daily. I would party up with people from the stream, and the way it worked from basically Call of Duty 4 up until Black Ops 4 was that there's like a super light skill-based matchmaking system, but primarily it's based on connection, as it should be. So sometimes the best connection is against noobs, sometimes it's against good players, but it's like, that's how it's always been, and how it should be.
Like, the connection is paramount. The skill might be second. There's also something in there with like joining complete games or what games need a filler. If there's a 6-on-5, it's really cool to get a 6th and level and bring it back.
Yeah, people that I mean, I if the concern was people like quitting or getting beat up on, I'm way more likely to quit a game I suck at because I get bad connection than because I'm losing. Like if I feel like if I'm losing because I'm bad, at least it's like I can get better at this. This is under my control. If I'm losing because my connection is bad, it's like I could be a Titan and you know what? Fuck this. I'm getting off. Like
no, I played Cold War just like 3 hours ago before the podcast, and I got into a lobby. It's what day is it? Thursday? Fucking 4. It was like 4 p.m. EST, and I get into a lobby with that nearly 100 ping. I got fucking fiber here, man. I could download like 4K goddamn porn while I stream, while I play Call of Duty and be fine. I have that much bandwidth. Why the fuck am I getting 100 ping? You know what I mean? Like there's no, like it's on dedicated servers. My NAT's open. Why the fuck am I getting 100 ping like it's 2007? You know what I mean? Like when I on Black Ops 4 consistently like 30 ping, but I don't know, man.
So
this is dog shit.
The debate between Sandy and Hutch. So, I mean, it's an internet debate. And so at the end of it, everybody doubled down on their initial position, right?
Those are the rules of internet.
Not only should you not get a good connection, you're Donald Trump.
There's no debating with Hutch because he has no other opinion. It doesn't matter if he's wrong, misinformed, or just being a complete retard. He's going to stick to his opinion. So there's no point in debating with him. It's like debating with
his opinion. But I don't find him to be like uninformed and retarded.
He was here.
I don't. Okay,
he was here.
But like usually he can speak pretty eloquently and defend his position.
Usually, but here he didn't even understand how like the SBMM algorithms worked. Like he's also not very good at Call of Duty, so he's not going to be
matched up with
people that like. Again, me and Sandy, we're probably around like on a scale of 1 to 10, like maybe an 8 on a good day. I might be overrating myself. I don't know, but Hutch would be like a 6.
If Sandy's an 8, he slipped 2.
Sandy used to be really, really good. He was known for like, no Sandy commentary, and people watched just because it was Duke Nukem clips of him going on absurd shotgun ramp. Yeah, it was. It would be like his videos with shotguns in like COD 4. Were the equivalent of watching like Grizz with snipers, where I would convince myself like, yeah, I can go 26-0 with on the shotgun with 2 shots, and it's like, no, you can't. He's just unbelievably good.
He would use the spaz on fucking Wasteland, that huge sniper map, and still make it work.
His videos hurt my KD because I tried to do that and it didn't work. Or and I asked him, right, because I know Sandy a bit, and I'm like, what should I do? Like, do you have any advice? He's like, just use the ump. You can't lose. Silly goose, I can still lose with an ump.
No, you got to shoot faster. Like instead of waiting, like it's like him not getting it. Like instead of waiting to lock on, just do it like instantly.
I like that part where you shoot kind of close to him to scare him a little bit. But I never thought of that. I just straight in the head.
Sometimes I toy with my prey also.
Like a cat. He plays with his food.
So what is the pro skill-based matchmaking point of view? I don't get it.
The pro point of view is that it should okay, so here's a good example. Call of Duty hasn't changed much from 2007 to now as far as like what you do in game. So there's not really a lot to do in game as far as like grinding, you know what I mean? So if I'm better than the average Call of Duty player and I get matched up against people that are like me and they get matched up, against me and whatnot, and we're trying our fucking ass off, we don't get anything for it in game. You see the problem there? Like we're at a high. It's like if we were UFC fighters and we're ranking up and there's no title to fight for though. You know what I mean? Like you're just aimlessly fighting art of competition for nothing.
Yeah, and in the UFC, if you knock off like the number 4 contender, then you are probably the new number 4 contender or something like that. Here, they make whatever stats you carry don't distinguish between whether the other player was good or bad.
There's nothing to work towards except that better play. Like the only real difference is that better players get worse connections because it's going to protect those shitty fucking, COD noobs at all costs. But the thing is that they're gonna play no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter.
They already bought the game.
They already bought the game. They're gonna buy like $50 worth of skins on week 1.
It just doesn't. This is like the first discussion I've ever had on skill-based matchmaking because I don't care and I don't play COD. But like, it seems so common sense for this in every game. Go by connection. Yeah, like get in the game and be able to play. Like what? It just doesn't make sense.
And Hutch doesn't get this either. This is another thing. It's easier now to cheat because of the system. So what you do, okay, so I got a PlayStation and I got an Xbox. So I'll boot the game up on Xbox, then on PlayStation I also have the game, and I'll have like a burner account that's like shit, right? All I do to get easier matches and better connections for that matter is I just join that bad shitty account and we search for a game, then it backs out.
And there's no way to turn this feature off. You can't be like prioritize skill or prioritize network or connection.
There's no way.
We literally used to do this back in COD 4 when we would make a new account. It'd be like, oh, Joe made a brand new account. Let's join his lobby. Because he would when he played Search and Destroy, he would not get a full team of like guys sound whoring. He'd get a jumbled up mismatch of people of various ranks in the middle that you hadn't seen in years because you'd been so long.
You're like, man, that's what it looks like to be level 31.
But they think of that though, but then like amplified times fucking 5, like it's way worse now. So why wouldn't people do like there's more people cheating than ever.
So we should probably talk about skill-based matchmaking at some point. We didn't get to talk about it last time, and I wanted to. Because Blame Truth came on podcast and was talking shit, and I wanted the chance to respond to it, and we just never got to it.
Yeah. Okay. So like the big thing that like about skill-based, and I don't even play COD, so I'm a truly neutral observer. I was totally indifferent to it, and then until Kyle told me like, and sometimes like in order to get a group of people good enough, your connection gets shitty. And like if that is the case, like connection should always be prioritized over everything, I feel. Like no one's, even whether you're a noob or not, nobody's having fun with shitty ping, like missing people because of that, So if it's like a prioritizing of connection, I can see that as a complaint.
That's not. I want to get my criticism in before Hutch chimes in as an expert. I haven't played this COD, but I have played it with like more recently with stronger skill-based matchmaking. My issue is the people that are good, people much better than me, I no longer want them as friends. And that's the dynamic that ruins it. If I have an ace in the hole, he used to be a pleasure to play with. He's like, I don't know, he helps you win every game. It's casual. It's not so stressful. When you have an ace in the hole, it's a blast to play COD, or you get 2 of them. Now, if there's an ace in the hole, that means that I'm going to have a hard game. I'm not playing well because everybody's as good as my good friend. Suddenly, my good friend is persona non grata, and he doesn't like it, and I don't like it.
And I've been it's always been like that for me because all my friends are aces in the hole because I'll only be friends with you if you're better at games than me, and I'm so goddamn good. So all my friends. Elite. Like I've got like 3 or 4 like legitimately good friends who at one time a couple have played like professionally a little bit. Like they're very good players at all games. They're good at clicking on shit. And they made a meme in the in there. They were like, when Dirty gets on and Kyle says you have to leave the party now because I kick them out. I tell them, I'm like, all right, you're here until somebody better gets on. We're running a baseball team here. You bat 250. I got a 350 hitter. He's just asleep right now. He's coming.
Like heavy Wings of Redemption vibes, by the
way. Sure. I mean, we're here to win. We're not having fun. All right, we're here to
win. You should actively not be having fun.
You know what? You're not ranked material, homie. That's all I got to say to that.
I don't want to step out of line, but I hope your parents die in a fire.
No, a car accident. No, like it's just coincidental that it not only are like my closer friends that I've known for like 6 years, like the better players, but the alternative is often somebody I've known for 30 minutes. So, they're getting bounced out of the party, for my buddy. But I'd probably do that to Taylor too. Taylor's playing with me. He's got to go as well. I got to get this. Got to win.
Fair. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not good.
At this point, I've heard every conceivable argument against skill-based matchmaking, and they're all stupid, in my opinion.
Oh, you didn't like mine? I'm pretty convinced mine's a good one.
I don't know if you're making I don't know if you're making an argument against skill-based matchmaking or saying this is your preference, because I think those are two different things. Like if somebody says I want to be able to pub stomp, or I want to be able to play with my friends and it not be an issue, playing with my friends who are better and have it not be an issue, or if somebody says, you know, my ping suffers a little bit, I'm gonna say all those things are valid. But it's when people, and particularly content creators, leverage their social media influence to like try to get some movement going with the expectation that any of these AAA studios are going to take it out of their games. That's when I'm like, okay, this is delusional. Because these decisions that are made in terms of matchmaking parameters, and it's going to be different for each game, because like they optimize differently. Maybe they're targeting different demographics, or you know, hardcore versus casual. That's going to be different. And if it's PvE versus PvPvE versus PvP, you know, like these things are obviously PvE doesn't factor in, but these decisions that are made on the back end by these studios are entirely data driven. They are moneyballing the fuck out of your experience with Call of Duty. And one of the things that they do, one of the things that is really integral to optimizing your playtime and player retention and their churn rate is matchmaking parameters. And all of these studios are going to tell you the same thing, because they're saying this, they're all seeing the same data. The Fall Guys, they're like, developers have only recently started coming out and sort of somewhat talking about their reasoning behind skill-based matchmaking, because it trends on Twitter every other week. And so there's like all this pressure, and these devs, these fucking poor devs are getting harassed, like legitimately harassed, like death threats and shit like that. People are just taking it like so insanely far. And so now you have studio like Respawn coming out and making a statement like, listen, you know, we love community feedback, but we stand behind our devs. And, you know, and then you had Fall Guys in their Discord channel in June straight up said, look, we understand why experienced Fall Guys players are having a bit of a tough time during this transition, because they're not winning as much. The matches are more difficult. We can sympathize with that. But what we observed when we didn't have skill-based matchmaking was that people who played the game and just got stomped in the first round over and over and over again quit the game, uninstalled the game, and never played it again. Mm-hmm. And from the perspective of a developer, this is obviously an unacceptable outcome, especially if they can influence that in some way. Yeah. And Destiny came out with a blog a couple months ago, Bungie did, where they talked about how skill-based matchmaking, or lack thereof, was impacting their game. And like I have some questions about like some of their decision making, because they just keep going back and forth, it seems, in terms of like how they implement it, if they implement it. So even if you don't like the consequences of skill-based matchmaking for you personally, and as far as like the ping goes, listen, I'm a fucking coastal elite fucking piece of shit. I live in Los Angeles or close to it. I never have games that are above like a 35 ping ever. Like ever,
it's
ever,
rare.
ever,
honestly, it's
ever,
rare
ever.
for like I'll have it, but some of the players will have like 200 pings sometimes, because they had to find Emilio Estevez of South America to like come and pwn me. Like, oh yeah, he can stand against Vovity, and we've also got an Eskimo from up north who can take on Dirty. And we've got a burn victim from Georgia who'll play Kyle at low ping, though. He doesn't mind at all.
If you're playing COD with like people, a mishmash of people all over the country, that's obviously going to present some difficulties when you're doing matchmaking.
Why can't can you use a VPN to like spoof your shit and like lock your region?
Yeah. In fact, a lot of content creators will lock their region to like Egypt. Yeah. And then they get these like 0.5.
Is Egypt the good one? Because I've been using Singapore and it doesn't help a lot.
You've been using like Japan like an idiot.
Yeah. No, there's I got a thing called bot lobbies, because Vovity was talking about it I think it's more used for Warzone. I don't even know if it helps with this, but one thing I have been able to do is lock our region to like the southeast. Yeah. Like, I'm not running anything through Singapore actually, or Thailand, because it just won't work. But I am locking us for this region now, so we don't have to deal with that ping anymore. But the fact that I have to pay $5 a month for a VPN to do that is a little annoying.
Yeah, that's what a lot of content creators. There's also another way you can exploit it where you can, and this is just the nerdiest. Like, I play fucking video games for a living, and this is the nerdiest shit I've ever fucking heard of in my entire life. You make a bot or an unused Call of Duty account on the same or on a different PlayStation. So let's say you got a PlayStation 4 because there's like cross-platform or whatever, and then you join it. You add your main account to that one, and then you join a lobby, and then you join off of your bot account, and then you it's the steps that some people are willing to take just so they can beat up on players that are worse than them is just mind blowing to me.
Well, you and I both know. Well, all right, if anybody's doing that to pub stomp, you're a fucking loser. But if you're doing that to make a pub stomping video that's now going to make $750 and you're going to make another one tomorrow and the next day and the next day, then
I can understand the financial benefit of doing something like that. I just still think it's just fucking nerdy. And then, like, you can't extrapolate your experience or the pressure that you feel to churn out gameplay videos. You can't turn around and then tell developers, like, you should specifically cater your fucking game that sold tens of millions of copies specifically for people like me, just to make my job easier as a content creator. That's absurd. That's just absurd. So, like, all these content creators that have launched this campaign against skill-based matchmaking, it's just so...
But I don't think that's their only point. I think that they're also saying, hey, the reason I became a content creator is because I fell in love with Call of Duty. And the reason I fell in love with Call of Duty is because I used to go in there and I didn't know who I was going to face off against. I didn't know if it was going to be the best of the best or the worst of the worst. But I was bringing my A game, and every now and then, man, did I shine. And now they're like, every time I step up to the plate, it's the best of the best. They had to develop $1 billion algorithm to find players this quickly to take me on, and that's what they did. That algorithm fucking works. It pays dividends. When you look at the top 10 most played PlayStation games, for example, on any given month, it's like the only 3 games that don't have skill-based matchmaking are games where it's not even really fucking necessary, like Rust or GTA 5, like who gives a fuck if there's skill-based matchmaking in that game, or Minecraft. And then every other fucking game, Dead by Daylight, FIFA, Apex, COD, Destiny, well, I don't know, they're kind of like back and forth on that, but like literally like the bulk of all multiplayer games now, because all the studios are doing it, they all saw the same thing. They didn't have the type of data collection abilities that they had 15 years ago. And if they had those abilities that they have now back then, it would have been in the game. I promise you that. So I don't know. One of my personal life philosophies is nostalgia is a fucking burden. Like I just don't, I don't like spending a lot of time thinking about, I like to look forward and kind of live in the present. And that's fair. That's fair. But I still think you got to like judge what's in front of us with a, like what's going on here every now and then with the skill-based matchmaking. Everything you said's pretty much I agree with, like as far as like a company's standpoint and making the most money, like that all makes sense. Having the biggest user base, the most active user base.
They make the most money because they're making the most amount of people happy. This is the thing that I think a lot of content creators don't understand. They think that the majority opinion is that skill-based matchmaking sucks, when the reality is 95% of the people that play fucking Call of Duty have no idea what that word means. Yeah. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you walked up to just random people on the street and said, hey, when you play video games, would you prefer a fair competition of somebody who's like roughly of the same skill, or would you prefer like complete blowouts? 95% of people are going to be like, yeah, I think I prefer fair. If you go to like a pickup basketball game and one team just squashes the other team, what happens in 9 out of 10 instances? They swap players around and then they make the teams more balanced and then they fucking play again. No, like very few people, except for would-be pub stompers, aspiring pub stompers, prefer blowout matches. That's just not how human beings fundamentally operate.
And I will say that, and from the content creator's perspective, the viewer wants to see blowouts too. Like they are getting feedback from their viewers that say, 30 and 14 or whatever. Like, what the fuck? I want to see an XCal style 61 and 2 double nuke.
Just to be clear though, like it doesn't exactly work, because when we play, we still stomp the shit out of them. It's just that I'm getting left behind.
Same. That's the thing that I'm like confused about. I'm like, it doesn't feel very strict to me. Like there's still some matches where I get the fucking shit kicked out of me.
Someone on our team talked shit to Dirty last night because Dirty had been using pistols, and Dirty was like, he didn't do well.
United Front.
Somebody on our team gave Dirty a hard time. Like, oh, I did better than you last game. Dirty's like, well, fuck you. He killed like 70 or 80 people the next game. He apologized to the other team and they said it was okay. Like a genuine apology. It was silly. They were spawn trapped the whole game. He had 4 chopper gunners. Like, it's a shit show. Like they still shit on people. Like it's me that gets left behind. That's what I'm complaining about. So it's more for the mediocre player. He's the one stuck in the middle.
And I get that. I'm not going to tell you like you're wrong because you say you have a bad time because your games are going to be like much harder. If you have someone who has like an invisible MMR rating of 100 and they're playing with someone who's got an invisible MMR rating of 25, the game's algorithm is going to try to match you up with an average lobby that's somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So the better player is going to have like a much easier time. And the worst player is going to have a tough time. And I'm not going to tell you like, hey, you should have fun. You know, that's like, obviously, like if you have a preference where it would be looser, it's like, I understand having that preference. But if they loosened matchmaking parameters, now all of a sudden, there are a lot of people that solo queue Call of Duty. And there are a lot of bad players that solo queue Call of Duty. I think the median KD for Call of Duty is like 0.8. It's like, that's where like the bell curve is. And these people are all going to have a really shitty time if they have to play against people like me or even people like you. You say you struggle, but you would shit on a newcomer, like a newcomer to the series. And so if your argument is that, you know, I want them to loosen matchmaking so my friend who's worse than me can have a better time, but also fuck these people over here, they're going to have a much worse time. It's like you're applying one standard to your friend, or you wanting the developer to apply one standard to your friend. And then
I want them to get out of the way of progress.
So there's much larger pool of players. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
I'm a businessman doing business, and I see a lot of red tape between me and those noobs. That's all I'm saying. That's all I say. And they could go play it. The argument that I would love to make is like, have those casuals go play their own. If you want to like play ranked, and if you want to like
that defeats the whole purpose though, because the skill-based matchmaking it exists specifically to keep casual players playing the game longer. That's why it exists. And so if you got rid of it in a casual playlist, you're defeating the entire purpose of That's why almost every game that has casual and ranked, skill-based matchmaking is still present in casual, like for obvious reasons.
Well, like if they made it separate, wouldn't everybody, like all the good players, would just be playing each other in the non-skill based one?
Yeah, and that's the other idiotic idea that I hear. Okay, we'll just create a playlist without skill-based matchmaking. I'm like, who the fuck is going to play that?
The good people.
It's all going to be like 1.5 to 2.5 players just hoping for your easier lobbies, and it's going to be 10 times sweatier.
It's going to be like a dating app with all men. Yeah. Where all the hot babes at? I was promised.
There are just like so many like blatant contradictions in people's logic when they criticize skill-based matchmaking that it just blows my mind. I'm like, do you hear
the connection thing still resonates with me, and that like it feels like for a video game, like whatever, like if skill-based, like if the connection's the same, fine, like do the skill thing if that's what they want to do. But like you shouldn't ever get in the game with shitty connection because of this. Like it should have something built in where it's like, people are going to have more fun losing by a bit more if they're not like, I hit that guy. Oh, my gun shot 2 seconds late. Like, because when I remember the worst times I had in Call of Duty, it was that.
Oh, yeah.
It was connection shit. It was one bursting a guy that you were positive you hit, and then you're glitching all over the top of the map. Like
in my experience, that happens way less with the recent titles. Way less.
And I have not played COD in a long time.
Do you guys remember World at War? Do you remember how fucking laggy that shit was? Do you remember like even COD 4, like how fucking crazy laggy that shit
You remember everybody when World at War came out and like the YouTube scene and everything, everybody quit it except for Wings after about a week.
And went back to
out of there. The game sucked.
Everyone was like, "This sucks." There's tanks that you can't quick scope.
Like, it was laggy as
I
shit.
forgot about the tanks. How did I forget that game?
That was one of the worst things.
It really depends on where you live. I read a statistic that like 85% of the United States lives kind of somewhat close to a major metropolitan area.
Yeah.
And if you're a part of that 15% of the country that lives in more remote areas, like I sympathize and I feel bad. But it's like they're not going to put like a fucking COD server in a 500 square mile radius where there's like
I agree
not
with
that many
everything
people.
you said. Like what they're doing is making the most money. It's serving the most people the best experience possible. It's just what I should have done is kept my word the first time I refunded the game. But they tricked me but everybody was like, "No, you're gonna want those attachments for
you refunded it and then bought it back."
And he lost the pre-order stuff, I think.
That's the other thing too. People treat the matchmaking system like it's like some mature Manchurian candidate shit. Like it's a predatory matchmaking system. They're manipulating you with your algorithm to play. It's like, what the fuck are you talking? They read this patent or this there's like companies come out with 1 billion patents every year that they don't use, and so they looked at this one patent by I think like EA, and it had to do with like instead of SBMM there was a proposal to do EOMM, engagement optimized matchmaking, which is something else like entirely. But like if the game is responding to your stats in real time, so it used to be that it would go from your lifetime stats. You know, you have a KD, and once you get enough kills, it's kind of hard to change that KD. There's like a big, and so you're kind of always in that range or whatever. But that's not how human beings work. Some days you have bad days. Maybe you got a fucking headache that day, or you're tired, and you just play like shit. And so what these games now do, for the most part, is they react to your stats in real time. And these people think that this is an engagement optimized matchmaking, and that the game is sending you into all these like matches that are predetermined to be the outcome. And so they're like, you have one good game and then it throws you into 3 shitty games. It's like, well, how does that work mathematically? Because if they're doing that with everybody, are you telling me one like that's like the math doesn't make any sense there?
What is EO?
I think I know the solution. I would like to know more about how their specifically the skill-based matchmaking algorithm works. I want to know what it weighs and measures. Like, is it score per minute /KD?
They're never going to tell you.
I need to know the ratio. I need that formula. That's important.
That shit is protected information, and if it ever got out, somebody would get sued into oblivion. Because if they ever got into specifics about what they'll give you like vague stuff, like the Fall Guys example that I gave you. He said like, this is what happened when we did this and this, but they're never going to tell you like we're measuring this and this, but they are measuring every conceivable variable you can imagine. They're imagining.
But I want to know how there can only be a handful that they're actually using, and they're going to be like weighed. I want to know what they're weighed more or less. It's going to be score per minute per player, and it's going to be KD per player, and maybe like what their KD in the previous match was. So I bet we could experiment and figure it out. I think
measuring
that maybe
how much time you spend in the menu. They're measuring how long it takes on average to get a kill. They're doing that for each map. They're measuring how long you use a certain gun. They're measuring like what your KD is with this gun versus that gun, how that impacts your. And they're constantly. And the other thing too is that they'll never tell you is that they constantly run A/B tests all the time without telling players. I've had developers from all kinds of studios reach out and talk to me about like the specifics, but they'll never like tell you. But like they will loosen matchmaking parameters without telling anyone. And then they look at their churn rate, they look at their quit rate, and they're like, well, it went up 15% when we loosened it that much, and
I'll tell you where
20% and we did it that much.
I'll tell you where I have like
our revenue commensurately decreased or increased as a result of that.
I have about an 85% quit rate on that map that's nothing but cars that explode.
Oh, I hate it.
Well, they have a map where there's nothing but cars that blow up.
First of all, I'm really good at it because
no, I have not.
Not many people use frag grenades, like old school frags, because there's so much cool shit. But you can fling a frag grenade, so I run those bitches and resupply, and I'm just chunking them because the whole map. Go ahead.
There's a fucking incline on both sides. So it's not like a steep incline, but there's the central portion of the. It's a freeway, just a 2-lane freeway. I don't know, maybe 3 lanes. I don't know what it is, and it kind of makes a point like this. And so if you're in the center, you have this kind of top advantage. You can look down a little bit, but the whole fucking map is covered in cars, and those fucking cars will blow up if you throw an nade at it. And if one blows up, all of a sudden 4 blow up, and it's just a nuclear weapon. That does not do justice to how shitty this fucking map is.
That's the part without that many cars. That's the part without that many cars.
Can all of these blow up? None of these are cover?
All right, so the big thing doesn't blow up. Yeah, the trucks, the big things. The camper doesn't blow up, and the fire truck doesn't blow up. Everything else explodes.
And you have a tiny lane right there off the right. And like that's like maybe like a 6-foot long kind of like walkway, if you can imagine, like a
we call it a tunnel,
civilian walkway. And then there's like a 1-lane thing to the right of that. So technically it's a 3-lane map, but it's just
this is where like 60% of the fighting happens, and it's awful.
It is a bottom 5.
Search and destroy on this is actually search isn't that bad, but everything else is garbage.
Search maybe is different, but can you just pre-explode your own cars? Is that a viable strategy?
It would take so long, you know. You don't have a lot of explosives. Now we wasted all of our explosives.
Yeah, the spawns might flip too. So I mean, but that's the thing. It would take a lot of grenades because there's just nothing but cars. You saw it was like 20% of the map. It's like a long stretch of just.
Oh, and they're going to blow up one way or another. Don't worry.
They fucking funded it on that map. That was like, all right, crunch time.
Can you still vote down maps?
No, there's no voting for maps. You are assigned a map, and you are assigned.
Oh my
an opponent.
God, dude, if this is. Okay, see, like there have to be more cars photoshopped into this, right?
No. You see, all right. So if you look at the very end,
this is like a prank map.
If you look at the very end where there's the bridge, that's where you spawn. Those cars back there, if you get a nade in, all like 4 of them explode. Like in a chain, 4. They're that close to the pack. So that's where I'm throwing my frags. I'm trying to get them back into there.
It is terrible. And
I bet every once in a while, though, you get a real big nade that like makes this a fun map, right?
Like quads and
you get a whole kill.
Oh, yippee! 3 kills. Let me go cash those in with the. What do I do with the 3 kills, Taylor? I don't care anymore.
I don't know. I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
I will say though that the rest of the core maps are actually like pretty decent. Like in terms of like initial maps, I think this is like one of the stronger ones. I didn't really love Cold War. I thought it was kind of a boring MP experience. Vanguard was like I thought Vanguard was pretty decent, but I think people just don't want to play World War II shooters.
They have a map in this game that has a lot of water. You're able to. It basically has an under the map. There's like a watery network that you can swim in a little bit, and there's multiple entry and exit points, little pools.
And they're like these little pods that you can pop out of like a tadpole.
And you can use your pistol underwater. So he like pulls his gat out. Or you can't stab. Use your.
That is awesome though. I love being a little fucking rat on that map and just going from hole to hole and just fucking with people.
Do you have the rat shot pistols?
I'm working on getting a Kimbo for the Glocks, but it's taking quite a while. It's like takes quite a bit to.
Like the rat shots are better. The Basilisk is way better than the Glock.
With the snake shots, with the shotgun shells or whatever. And I think you can run it akimbo. Yeah.
It's akimbo snake shot revolvers, and so you can just remember the old akimbos from Modern Warfare 2. Those shotguns,
1887s.
You've got those, but they're in 5-shot 500 Smith & Wesson Magnums. Mine are gold with like long barrels, and he's just running around like this, just.
Dude, one of the most fun memories I have of COD is when they hadn't quite patched those 1887s yet, and so everyone was just running around, long-shotting each other, spinning. That was so much fun. They got to it pretty
quick, so there was like a golden. They did, real quick. There was like a golden week there where you were just a
it wasn't that quick, Hutch. They fixed it like improperly. Like it. If I recall, they fixed the gun, and then there was an attachment. Maybe it was akimbo. I forget what it was, where it was still broken. It stayed broken for a while.
That is, I can't, like, that's triggering my memory. Yeah. Originally, it was you could just use 1 or 2, and it would go super far. And then they patched 1, and everyone's like, just use 2. It's the same again. And then, like, that
stuck around. Modern Warfare 2 was terrible because it
remember the javelin glitch?
So long.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Here's the javelin glitch.
Oh,
you had to like look down at something and like but anyway, you triggered the javelin, and now you can sprint at full speed, but you're a walking javelin bomb.
Yeah.
But the javelin impact in Call of Duty is the biggest explosion in the game. It's far exceeds any of the like hand thrown stuff. It's much more like a predator missile than anything. So you're a walking predator.
So when you got shot, the missile would hit the ground right away.
Instant.
Like
instant
if you got killed, it would just. And then, so it was like martyrdom times 5.
I never did that one.
I did it so much.
Oh, Modern Warfare 2 was terrible. The care package glitch ruined the game. I didn't like rust lobbies. Some people like that as a bug, but to me, it was another thing. You could get pulled into glitch lobbies against your will. Like that was the thing that happened. And you'd like rank up super fast.
And you would get hacks. Like it would like give your character like an extra perk slot instead of a lethal grenade or whatever.
I was in a game where people had fully auto grenade launchers. So you just, and it's just shooting an endless amount of nades out of it. That game was really broken. If I recall correctly, the studio got like decimated shortly after it came out, and they couldn't repair it.
Yeah, there was a lawsuit. There was a lawsuit going on because some of the talent there, some of the developers, they sued Activision because they they alleged in court that, and I think they settled out of court, but they alleged that they were owed like multiple millions and millions of dollars in bonuses that they never got.
I can remember Hutch making a video about this on High Rise.
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
From what,
Isn't it funny how you remember the map
from like 14 years ago?
The post-launch support for that game had the potential to be like an all-time top 5 FPS, and it ended up being literally one of the worst FPSs of all time. Because
I'm glad you agree with me on that. It was one of the worst ever. So if a COD has a 1-year life cycle and that game was horribly broken for 7 or 9 months, it can't be good.
I was out of there after like 4 or 5 months. I went back to COD 4. I'm like, I'm not going to World of War. I'll just, enough people were playing COD 4.
People forget Modern Warfare 2 was the game that content creators made videos of themselves destroying it. Like, it was a funny little thing it was a little trend that went on for a week of everybody destroying their copy of Modern Warfare. Yeah. White Boy melted his on the stove, I think. FPS Russia shot his copy. And then when it was time for him to make the fucking commercial for Call of Duty, they were like, "Did you make a Call of Duty hate video?" Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah."
That game was. It was so frustrating because it was like, it's right there. The greatness is right there. All you got to do is it's literally like get rid of explosives being replenished in one-man army. And the care package glitch and Commando Pro was like out of control. Like, I like the philosophy of just making everything kind of overpowered, which is I think what they did with Modern Warfare 2 this year is like there's so many strong things.
I wasn't even going to talk about weapon balance because here's my thoughts on that. You talked about what's your idea of a fun game. What's your idea of weapon balance? Like, what do you imagine? And I don't mean you specifically. I mean like the listener. Like, when you think of like what it's like in the world of Call of Duty to exist. Like, what do you think of that? Because when I think of COD 4, what I think of, okay, we've got ARs that are good at like medium long and kind of sucked short, and that balance sort of thing. That's out the window.
COD 4? You had
that's what I want.
M16 and the MP5, and that was like it.
Well, I'm saying that's what I want, ideally. And those are the outlier, like there's like 3 guns in that game that stand out better than everything else that needed to be fixed. And they never worked.
Jug AK action.
But in this game,
the original game, and the original, you had like the AMP, you had like the shotguns, you had the ACR, you had even the SCAR, the M4. Like, I prefer, and I think Black Ops 3 did a similar kind of approach to it where it was like, fuck it, let's just make everything super strong. And I kind of prefer that because I think it gets a little mundane if you try to make everything like perfectly balanced. Or
there are definitely some shitty guns in this game, but there are a lot of really, really good guns in this game, and the time to kill is so. I would love to know what the average time to kill is, because there's so many snipe. They've got 3 classes. They have 3 different classes of guns that kill with 1 shot to the head or neck or something like that. They've got like a marksman rifles, the sniper rifles, and the battle rifles. And it's a little
nasty. The snipers are fucking nasty in this game. They're gross.
With the canted laser, the thing where you don't even aim down sights, you just sort of do this to the gun. This is your aim down sights. What they did with the realism mode in Modern Warfare 2019, it was like their version of hardcore, where like when you ADS'd, it would like show you a laser instead. I don't like that attachment. I can't really. I've seen some people tear it up with it, but I'm not very good with that attachment. I need like a red dot or iron. I use it on an AR, and I like it. I like just dragging the recoil out of it, and it's fun to use. I'm pretty good with that. But I've seen people use it with a sniper, and you're just clicking on people now. There's no scope. There's no sight of any kind. You're just able to like die.
It's like the Car 90. It's like the Car 98 unscoped from COD 2. Like the sniping in this game feels really similar to COD 2, which is awesome for me. But it's kind of annoying because like there are a lot of people running around with snipers in this game. So I do think they need to be like maybe like a little bit nerfed. Like the ADS speed is pretty intense. It's like faster
with the weapon tuning. It's faster than the SMGs.
Even without the weapon tuning, it's like instant ADS. And that's the other thing too, is they slowed this game down quite a bit. So like the movement is obviously slower. They got rid of bunny hopping and slide canceling, which I support. Like I mean, bunny hopping I think was less annoying, but the slide canceling stuff, it was just your hands would hurt just doing that shit constantly.
It's too much.
And what they really slowed down in this game was the ADS speed. Like the ADS speed in this game is like real bad. And they also added a ton of idle sway. So like the aiming stability stat on these attachments becomes super important because that idle sway, that really exaggerated idle sway, is like extra recoil because it continues as you're shooting. So you have to compensate for this bobbing gun like this. And so and it's so nonsensical because the attachments, a lot of the attachments that help you with recoil in this game add to your idle sway. So it's like they made some, I think, questionable decisions when it came to
they're going to fix the attachments. They're broken. It's almost always better. All right, a naked gun is really strong, and it's often going to be stronger than the nonsense that someone who didn't actually pay attention to what they're doing and build a good gun would build. If you just put a bunch of good attachments on a gun, my naked gun is way better.
Yeah, you could all of a sudden your sprint out speed and your ADS speed is super slow, and you're just getting
sprint to fire and ADS are what it's all about.
Sprint to fire in this game is actually, I was surprised to learn faster than in Modern Warfare 2019. It's the ADS speed and the aiming stability that's just, and the sprint to fire speed, which are super slow. But anyways, I wanted to say one more thing, and then then I can lay this to rest. But when Blame Truth came on here, he referenced a video that I did with Sandy Ravage and a conversation I was having with him about skill-based matchmaking. And in that video with Sandy Ravage, which was very clearly a video between two people that like each other. I have never had a problem with Sandy. To my knowledge, he's never had a problem with me. And I made a joke in that video about how him supporting getting rid of skill-based matchmaking made him more like Donald Trump, and me supporting skill-based matchmaking made me more like Bernie Sanders, which was a part of an ongoing gag that I had with Sandy. Like, we would constantly make these stupid political jokes. And that joke didn't even make any fucking sense. It was just something I said off the cuff.
That makes sense to me.
Your friend Anthony, Blame Truth, whatever his last name is, fucking took me literally, which you got to be the dumbest motherfucker in the world to watch that video and think, oh yeah, he's serious. So I just wanted to clear the air.
Or perhaps he's trolling
good name.
To get a reaction.
That's what I thought for a while.
I think whenever you attribute 3D chess trolling logic, usually people don't deserve it.
I think he took me seriously. I think when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
There's only one way to find out.
We got to get him on. Both at the same time.
By the way, Blame Truth, whatever you're doing in the algorithm, I think it's working pretty well. I keep getting recommended your videos, and I've never sought them out before, but every day. Getting another video of you complaining about Call of Duty every day.
Rage bait, COD Rage bait crushes on YouTube.
Yeah, it really does.
Just crushes.
And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. He in his videos, he very much hates the game. That's not me dogging on him or anything. Like, I think he makes a video every day about how much he hates the game.
I sincerely believe he hates Call of Duty. And
I do too.
Like the way he talks about it, he's either winning an Oscar or he genuinely hates his fucking game franchise.
I hate it too. He's preaching to the choir.
That's why you're there watching the video.
I have struggled with clinical depression for a good portion of my adult life, and that shit looks so depressing to me. Like, I cannot imagine playing a game that I fucking hate over and over and over and over again.
Let me tell you what happened today.
I imagine
2022, there's so many good fucking games. I don't have a lot of like sympathy for that anymore because there's just so many games that you can play now.
I had this thought process today. Today I took my dogs out for a walk, and then I came back in and I saw that 3 of my good friends were playing Call of Duty at 3 in the afternoon, and I was like, do I want to get on and play with them? I'd like to talk. And I was like, no, you don't. I don't want to play this game. I have nothing. No outcome will be fun to me. And I was like, I'm not going to play.
And
it.
you don't have
I don't
to.
want to play. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to play it anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
I asked Kyle to play. I asked Kyle to play Magic with me.
You might play after
regularly.
the show.